Hi, Robert Eagle Staff PLCs. This is Macy Nelson, and if we haven't met yet, I am a Math 7 and Math 8 teacher here and part of the Teacher Leader Cadre. And I wanted to make a quick video of how to use the Formative Assessment Creation, Analysis, and Reflection protocol. So the purpose of this protocol is for PLCs to be able to analyze student work from a formative assessment. One cycle of the protocol will be used over 3 meetings. This is an inquiry cycle, but it's based on one standard or one exit ticket. So in the first meeting, teachers co-create formative assessments in a rubric. In the second, they analyze student work from the exit ticket and make an instructional plan. And in the third, they reflect on instructional interventions they've implemented. So if you look at the first column, those are just steps 1, 2, 3, and then the actions tell you what's happening in those steps. So this first table you see here is the first meeting. Teachers will create an exit ticket to assess students' understanding of one or less learning standards, complete the exit ticket as a PLC to anticipate misconceptions and identify possible mistakes, and create a rubric to grade the exit ticket with and for students to use to self-assess. Now, when this says create an exit ticket, of course, there could be one from previous years that you would use, and you might just modify it or share it with your new colleagues that you're sharing a grade level with. So in this third column, there are ask yourself questions, and these are questions for your PLC to use to reflect on your work during each step. So, for example, in step 3, ask yourself questions with the rubric. Does the rubric clearly distinguish between meeting standard and exceeding standard? Is it easy for kids to read and understand? Or in ask yourself question step 1, are the questions you're writing on the exit ticket addressing the standard or another skill? And then finally, the last column just has some quotes from different research articles about why the practices within this protocol are helpful for student learning. So after that's done, students complete the exit ticket. Next comes meeting number 2. This is where you do the analysis. So for step 4, ideally, your PLC would come with it already complete, where you're grading and sorting the exit tickets into meeting standard or not meeting standard, and disaggregating meeting standard or not meeting standard by race and gender. If you come with that done, it gives your PLC more time to dig into the data and to make some decisions about your next steps. So let me show you the data tools. I actually already have it open here. So the math department has been using this for a while, and this is one Excel sheet, one Excel workbook, and at the bottom there's different sheets. So the first one is this meeting or not meeting template. It's pretty straightforward. Let's say the standard, I'm just going to summarize it as solving equations for period 1. You're just going to enter the number of students who earned an ES and so on. So let's say 5 earned an ES, 3 earned a MS, 10 AS, and 2 JS. So this shows I have 20 students who took it. And then it calculates the percent for each level, but then also calculates just how many are meeting standard and how many are not meeting standard. Down here you can write who was absent for the exit ticket or the number of students who were absent. And then this is for focus students. So if my period 1, I have 2 focus students and 1 of them met standard, I just put 1 out of 2. And I know other teachers might put the names and if they met standard or not, but I often will show this data to the class, and so I leave it without names. And then you can do it for each class period. So you can get an overview of how your students are doing on this standard total. So I just put an example in here from last year, and you can just see what it looks like and how I kept track of data. And then the second tool, I'm really excited about this one, is to disaggregate by race. So it takes a little bit of work up front, but you're going to put in the name of all of your students in a class period, the race, the gender, and then, so that stays permanent, then what will change each time is the exit ticket score. So then what this Excel spreadsheet does is, for example, for Asian students, it will count how many students met standard, and it'll then find the percent who met standard and then the difference from the white students in class. Because if we want to be a zero gap school, we know that that is what's happening. Our students of color are not meeting standard at the same rate as our white students or Asian students. And to close that gap, we need to know what's happening in our class to make changes to our instruction. And then the female and male is counted. And of course, students identifying as non-binary, you can add that in also. But it's just another way to look at how systems of power are playing out in our classrooms. So the way this looks, I'll show you an example from this year, is I put in all my student names. The race, you're just going to put in the first letter. So M is multiracial, B is black, W is white, and L is Latinx. And then I don't have any Asian students in this class, but A would be for Asian. And then gender, M or F for male and female. So that's all pre-work. So then every time I'm just copying in the exit ticket scores from PowerTeacher. And so it will calculate for me how my students are doing. So I can see, well, I have no Asian students, so that's why it didn't do anything. But for my 2 black students in class, both of them met standard, and so 100% of my black students met standard. For my Latinx student, I only have 1 didn't meet standard, so 0% did. White students, almost 89%, multiracial, 80%. So this is showing that my black students in this class met standard at a rate above white students, and Latinx and multiracial were below. Now, of course, this is a very simplified way of looking at this data, and we know, especially those of you who use data a lot, like if you have 1 Latinx student versus 9 white students, that makes a difference when we're looking at the data. But just to give us a picture of what is happening in our classroom, I think this could be a really powerful tool. And then it shows also male and female. So my female students met standard 31% above of what my male students did. And you can see that here. Only 60% of my males met standard, while 91% of my females met standard. So that tool, you could use both of them to look at your exit ticket data, or neither. But when you come to your PLC, you want to have some sort of data that's summarized to look at. Because from that, so that's our overview. Step 5, identify 2 to 4 mistakes. So this is looking deeper into those students who did not meet standard, and complete the action plan. Be sure this is a learner-centered problem, which I give you that description here. So this link, template action plan, goes back to SharePoint, and it's a Word document because I thought if you saved it, it might be easier to just type it in. So this you might recognize from Cornelius Miner's book. I just modified it to be for academic learning, but you could also use this for anything else, like he shows us in the book. So mistake or misconception 1, 2, 3, 4, what students fell in there, the reasons for it, and this you should be able to fill in from your pre-work in the first PLC. What's your plan to address it, timeline, and then after that you're going to review it. How did it go? So if my mistake or misconception is students were incorrectly combining like terms, I list. The reason is it might be confusing to know that you can't add 3x and 5 because they mean different things. What's my plan? I might do more modeling or have a hands-on tool. Well, we're online, but you know what I mean, to address that. And I'm going to do it by next class so that the next time we meet as a PLC, we can look at how they did on a second exit ticket. Okay, so then finally, after that, you are completing a reflection of just how this whole process went, including making your action plan for students learning with adjustments to our teaching. So intervention and reteaching occurs, and then this could be at the beginning of that third meeting. It doesn't have to take too long, depending on how the intervention worked. But then ask yourself questions. Was it successful? What could have been done differently? What evidence do you have? How accurate was the prediction of the mistakes or misconceptions? And that's it. I hope this tool will be really helpful for you to use with mini inquiry cycles for your PLC. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions.